Hello, everybody. My name is Matt, and he is.
Hey, I'm Josh. Hey.
This is the first ever sort of like review that we've done for the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel, transmissions from the Outpost, and we are going to review what tonight, Josh?
We're reviewing Ty West's new film, X.
Okay, Ty West, fairly noteworthy horror director. Probably most noteworthy for House of the Devil. And then he followed that up with The Innkeepers. Those are the two big movies from Ty West that I distinctly remember back from that time period. What is X about?
Basically, it's a group of young adults, I guess I'd say, that travel to I guess, secluded or like small town in Texas. And they're setting out to make I don't know if it's their first, but I'd say first, like, adult film or classy, upscale adult film. They end up on a property that is owned by an elderly couple that know they're coming, but didn't know what they were coming for. Some shit goes down.
I've seen it described as Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets Boogie Nights. I mean, what are your thoughts? Well, what did you think of this movie?
I have followed along the release of this movie. Was super excited when they dropped the trailer. I was like, I haven't been able to go to a lot of movies in theaters lately, but like, there's some that I was like, there's no fucking way I'm missing that movie. And X was one of them. It was on my radar for a while, even though, like, I'm not even a big Ty West fan. House of the Devil was just not my jam. I really enjoyed The Innkeepers. It had a little bit quicker of a pace. X is probably my favorite of his films, which again isn't saying much because he makes a slow burn film and my brain just can't handle it. But X was it lived up for me. It lived up to the trailer and the hype. It was a ton of fun. It had a lot of good fun, kills in it. I liked the casting was really great. The story behind how we got the film made is also really great as well, that he talked about. But X as an overall film, super dug it. So, and I don't know if we're doing spoilers, but I'll wait till the end of this.
Yeah, I like the idea that we keep spoilers to the end, so we'll let people know when we start talking spoilers.
Yeah.
I really dug this movie, man. I thought it was really, really cool. I saw a lot of people saying, well, this is a throwback to old slasher films. I don't even think that's accurate. I think this is just a really I think it's unique. I think it lives in its own world, in its own space. I thought that kind of the story behind what's actually going on here was really intriguing to me. I don't think I'd ever really seen anything like that in a horror film before, let alone like a
Mm-hmm.
slasher film. I just thought it was really unique and novel. It doesn't do the typical things that you sort of expect a movie like this to do, which I really liked. I enjoyed all of the characters. Like I
Yeah.
felt like every character in this movie was kind of like charming. They were fleshed out in a way, no pun intended. Uh,
Yeah.
each one of them, like I didn't want any of them to die. Like, and I think that's a testament to an effective quote unquote slasher film is
Right.
if you could make all of the characters like you don't want them to die. I think that's when slashers are at their most effective. I mean, there's plenty of Friday the 13th movies like, oh, I can't wait for that person to die, and it's cool when they do. But here I was genuinely like, oh man, like I do not want something bad to happen to this person. And then it does.
Right.
It just sort of, for a long time, nothing happens. And then wham, it happens. It sort of hits you. A
Yeah.
lot of that is, building up the characters, what these characters believe and how they think and how their worldviews change. Certain characters are maybe not so into the porn thing and then sort of switch their opinion when they're around it and things of that nature. And I just thought it was really interesting and unique. And man, I thought the cinematography in this was fantastic. I think the villains were pretty rad. And
Yeah.
I don't have too much to complain about on this film. I guess if I had any complaint, I feel like there's some
Hmm.
things that happen at the very end that I was kind of like, okay, the whole story has not been told to me yet.
Right.
We'll say that. And so it was kind
Right.
of like, what exactly is going on here? And you kind of learn. We'll talk about sort of how that all plays in. But stuff happens really fast. Just like wham wham at the very end, and there's a little like huh, but reading more about it, you kind of know what the plan is here. But
Right.
other than that, I really dug it. I thought there was some stuff that was just disturbing. There's a lovemaking scene in this. It's pretty disturbing to me. I was like, oh no,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
And that's good because I was just genuinely like ooked out. I didn't think I liked the kills. I didn't think any of the kills were overly impressive to me. I will
Not
say that
definitely not original, I didn't think.
they were effectively done, but
Yeah.
I wasn't like wowed by the death scenes in this. Some of them were just a little too quick, and one of them is actually spoiled in the trailer, which I'm really disappointed by because I watched this trailer and you actually see the death of the first guy who's trying to get away. You see that right in the trailer, and I was like, oh man, why did they have to do that? Because that would have been a real cool moment, but I already knew it was
Yeah.
coming. But overall, yeah, before we get into spoilers, overall, I really really dug this movie. I thought it was awesome. I would probably give this a like a B plus rating, and that might actually go up upon a second viewing. I would
Yeah, for
definitely
sure.
rewatch this movie again for sure.
Yeah, I want to try to go back and catch it one more time. I will say the females in this movie, I think, stole Mia Goth and Jenny Ortega and Brittany Snow. Definitely stole.
Yeah.
They definitely overtook the screen from the guys in the film. Although I did enjoy, I can't remember the character's name, the guy that played the cinematographer. I just kept laughing because like he didn't want to make a porn film, but if he was going to make one, he wanted to make like the greatest porn film of all time. And
An art piece, like an
yeah, art
actual
piece.
art piece.
Yeah, it made me laugh. I thought that was great.
I like the
And
guy who
and
played
and
Wayne. I thought he was really good. He
he
reminded me of somebody else, but I cannot place who it is.
he
He
had
like an Owen Wilson vibe to him or
he had a
something like
Matthew
that.
McConaughey thing going.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Matthew
That was it.
McConaughey for
Yeah.
sure. Yes.
And then Kid Cutie surprised me as well. I don't know his music. I don't know a lot about him. I was like, "There's another musician in this movie," and even he was, everybody was great. The
Oh
casting
yeah.
of this movie, like I said, was really well done. So,
Yeah, and
um,
people listening to this might be thinking, well, man, Matt doesn't really have any complaints. Why do you give it a B plus? But I'm going to tell you in the spoiler section as to why there was a main thing with this movie that dropped it down for me. Not so much that I dislike the movie by any means, but just
right.
something that dropped it down. But yeah, B plus for me.
I think that's 100% fair. What you went with, you BB plus.
So spoiler territory. Anything
Yeah.
you want to say? Like I'll let you go first. Is there
Well,
anything that you want to talk about?
I mainly wanted to talk about how Ty West got this movie made, which isn't really a spoiler. They were supposed to make this movie beginning of 2020, and then COVID kicked in, and they couldn't find anywhere in the States to make it because there was COVID everywhere. And A24 was trying to get them to make this movie, and they were trying to figure out where the hell they could make this movie that looked like Texas. They found one place in the world where they could make this movie, and there was zero COVID cases in New Zealand. So they went to New Zealand and they quarantined for 2 weeks. And this is where that spoiler would come in because while he was shut up in a room for 2 weeks, he wrote Pearl. He loved it so much that he reached out to A24 and was like, "Hey, we're here. We're getting ready to make this movie." He sent them that script and they're like, "We love it." And so he was like, "I want to shoot them back to back." And so he brought in a whole nother cast. And as soon as X wrapped, they shot Pearl back to back. I
That's
thought
very
that was
cool.
awesome. It's another one of those things where when the world shut down and movies stopped being made, there were still people out there finding ways to make movies. And I just thought that was a really cool way they went about, overcoming this fucking pandemic and continuing to make what they wanted to make. So I didn't know Mia Goth, honestly. Call me stupid. I didn't know Mia Goth played both characters in this movie.
Okay, so that is my big problem with it. And I wouldn't say that I have a problem with Mia Goth. I thought Mia Goth was awesome in this movie.
Yeah.
However, I immediately recognized that the old lady was Mia Goth. I just she's got such a unique face in her eyes. I mean, Mia Goth has a very unique look, and no matter how much makeup was on her as the old lady, I was like, "Oh, that's Mia Goth." They tried to make that sort of like a twisty twist sort of thing sort of at the very end, and I
Yeah.
saw it coming from a million miles away. So for my viewing experience, I wasn't impacted by sort of like the twist as much as maybe you were, and so it just knocked it down a little bit for me, just because I could recognize her through the makeup.
Did it take you out of the movie?
No, it didn't take me out of the movie. It just made me start thinking about, okay, well, if Mia Goth is playing these two characters, what's the relationship here? How is this all going to play out? So I started thinking in my mind about how this was going to end and play out. Because they even mentioned some of the same lines of dialogue, like porn star. Mia Goth. Well, I guess she's not technically a porn star yet. She wants to be a star. That's
Yeah.
one of the cool things about this. Every character in this has sort of like a reason as to why they are the way they are. It's not just a group of people randomly show up. They all have motivations, and they all have different wants and desires. And Mia Goth's, sort of young porn star, Maxine Minks, she mentioned something. She's like, she's not going to have a life that she doesn't deserve, or something along those lines.
Hmm.
And the old lady, I had already seen it, but she says the exact same thing at one point in time in the movie. And I was like, okay, I already recognize this is Mia Goth in the makeup, and okay, they just said the exact same line. There's some sort of weird connection here between the two. And so it just made my mind sort of think. I wasn't hit blindsided by the reveal.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't see it. I guess I didn't pay close enough attention, maybe, or I was just so into what was going on that I didn't catch it. But yeah, I had no idea. I also was the only person in that theater, granted, only three people, that I had this weird feeling I should stay through the credits. And from what I understand, a lot of people got up just in general and left. And I know I told you before you went and saw it, stay through the credits. I don't know if
Yeah.
you would have done that anyway. So I just had a feeling. So I stayed through the credits. The end credits came, the end of the roll, and nothing had happened. And I was like, God damn it! But if you wait like an extra, just like second, that Pearl trailer kicks in. I was like, this is fucking awesome. I was so excited. I was like, please make this movie. And then I listened to an interview with Ty West and found out that he did.
It looks cool. It reminds me of like some of the way they had the titles up. It's like a Douglas Sirk film, like a melodrama from the 1950s aesthetic, but it takes place in like 1919 or something, I think.
It's like World War I, maybe world. It's like
Yeah,
during one of the
something
world
around
wars.
there.
Yeah,
And I love the fact that they use the exact same shots that were in X, but now it's all like hypercolor almost.
yeah,
Whereas X is really, it has that sort of washed out Texas Chainsaw sort of
yeah,
yellowy aesthetic, but this one is like bright and colorful and sort of like cheerful, and then it just turns crazy.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely going to check out Pearl. And the other thing I want to touch on is the old people. There is this really interesting current going through this whole thing of like old people sort of missing their free loving sexuality days kind of thing, where the old lady actually, she just wants to fuck. she can't
Yeah,
she just can't fuck. Like her husband, who's this nasty, gross looking dude, he won't do it because he thinks he's gonna have a heart attack and he'll die. So like, I don't know, do they establish like they have been kidnapping people for her? I mean, it's not exactly clear to me on first viewing what exactly these people do with people who show up here. Like, are they like molesting them? Are they just murdering them? Like, what exactly is going on? But the old lady's thirsty, and if she ain't getting it, she goes crazy. But I thought that was great because she's like fascinated with like youth, right? Like Mia
yeah,
Goth, they're so young and beautiful. They don't have wrinkles, and they just like, and even Brittany Snow's character at one point in the movie says, pretty soon, like, we're going to be too old to fuck. So we want to do this now. We want to do as much as possible right now because we're going to get too old and
right,
we won't be able to do it.
right.
And it's just this really sort of interesting dichotomy of like youth versus old age and like near death. You still have those wants and desires, but you can't really act upon them like you could. There's also this current of generational divide. Like, they're listening to this weird televangelist is on this television all
Yeah,
throughout this thing. So really showing like these conservative, like World War I or whatever it is, sort of values and stuff. Whereas now they're in the 70s. This takes place in the 70s. It's free love. It's do all this. Whereas that's completely at odds with what these two old people living on this farm are like. So I thought all that stuff was awesome. It was just it wasn't your typical just standard slasher film. It actually had something to say, and it
Yeah,
had excellent performances, and it had, not the greatest death scenes in the world, but they were effective for what they were going for. I love the
right.
alligator. I thought the alligator thing was awesome, even though you saw it coming. You knew that
Yeah,
they set it up. They it's like as soon as Brittany Snow's got her back to that pier, I'm like,
yeah,
God, all right, here it's coming. Like she's
yeah.
gonna get eaten by this alligator.
There's no way they were going to show that gator and not use it for one of those deaths. So,
Yeah,
Brittany Snow got a good one.
but I was okay with it. Like I said, a lot of it was fairly expected. Like I was like, okay, there was no major wild twists that I was like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. They kind of teed everything up, but they did it very effectively, and they
Hmm.
gave it some juice, which I
Yeah.
I enjoyed.
I think I'm going to talk about slow burn, but you also talked about how he took the time to build these characters up. Took them
Kills
out.
them all.
Yeah, and like so, I know I say slow burn, like I want things to happen, kind of boom, boom, boom right away because I'm not a patient person. But yeah, this one I think you said it right. He did the right thing by taking that time to build these guys up, so people didn't want to see them get killed.
Well,
Um,
here's the thing about a slow burn. The thing about a slow burn movie is it's effective if you are enjoying being with the characters. If this movie had just the most obnoxious, annoying characters in it, and you're like, oh my god, just die already. Because I don't think anyone dies in this movie for,
it
gosh, I
takes a
want to say like
while.
50 minutes, maybe
Yeah.
close to an hour,
Uh-huh.
and it's just atmosphere and setting up kind of weird stuff. And but I love these characters, dude. I just was like, yeah, give me more of these characters interacting with one another, and give me more. Like the cinematographer, when his girlfriend, who's like the sort of churchy sort of mouse girl, I think they call her Mouse or something like that. Jenna Ortega's character, who's like,
Yeah.
I thought it was just awesome when that cinematographer, he's gonna make the like we sort of touched on the true like artistic porn film. And he's kind of got this quiet sort of girlfriend who didn't realize that she was going to be helping him on a porn film. And then
Yeah.
she's like watching these women having like amazing sex all day long, and then she's just like, I want to be in the film.
I want to do that. Yeah.
I want to get dicked like that. And
Yeah.
she turns it back on him because he's like, well, no, you can't. And it's like that power and control element, right? Where he's like, no, I'm not going to let you. And it's kind of like, well, she's like, well, I'm gonna do it. Why you being a prude? She kind of throws that back on him.
Yeah.
And but the cool thing about the film is they show him completely break down as
Yeah.
what an actual boyfriend or someone who like loves someone would do. He's got to film his girlfriend
It's so fucked up.
having sex with this guy as part of the film, and there's like this whole sequence when he breaks down in the shower and he's just crying. She's just sleeping in bed like nothing, like it's no big deal, and he just breaks down. He's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And then that's the scene that they show in the trailer, because you actually see her
Yeah.
stab him in the throat, and I was like, oh man, why did they show that? I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah. I
on the
guess I have to go
marketing
back and
team.
watch that.
That's the marketing team, because I knew it was coming. I was like, I really wish I would not have seen that moment coming.
Um,
But you saw her hand was behind her back, so it's like, okay, something's gonna happen here. But
right. My favorite part in X, no joke, it wasn't a kill. It wasn't the extracurricular activities. Brittany Snow sings Landslide.
yeah, it's really
And
good.
it's like really really good moment in that movie. I don't want to say it slows it down. It just makes it kind of shift gear. It's nice to have a spot like that in that kind of movie.
Pornography, I will say, is not it's not super front and center, but you get a couple scenes of sex, and it's kind of extended. I mean, for at least a mainstream Hollywood movie, I wouldn't say anything like super graphic or anything like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
you get Mia Goth riding a dude, and you get Brittany Snow in various sexual positions and things
right.
of that nature. But they kind of play it for comedic value in the Brittany Snow scene, and it kind of reminded me of the scene in, remember Club Dread? God,
I
what was the
fucking
name of that
hated that
actress?
movie.
I hated that movie too, but there was like a goofy sex scene in that. Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And
Yeah.
then the Mia Goth scene is kind of played for creep factor because you kind of see the old woman like watching her through the window, and you're like, oh
Right.
god, this is not going to end well. And then of course you see this in the trailer kind of as well, but she like gets in bed with her and she's like rubbing up on her. There's some
That's a
disturbing. It's like, oh, she's all like
yeah.
bloody and gross. It's getting all
And
over.
yeah, another really great spot when she does that. And then you can't forget, if you're going to talk about sex in the movie, you can't
That's
just
true.
bypass and skip the old people sex. It's fantastic. And that guy, for being that age, really puts his back into it. So I mean,
He was. I mean, it was some good missionary.
he was doing all right.
It was some good, and what was great about that is the payoff with his heart. Because
Yeah.
he's like, "Am I still gonna be this? I might have a heart attack." And she's like, "Come on, just fuck me, basically." And so they go to town. Mia Goth is like hiding under the bed as it's
Right.
squeaking and bouncing up and down. And these people are like the nastiest, grossest looking people in the world. So you're just like, Matt, you're seeing the thrusting, and you're like, oh my god, it's like this over the top view. But then at the very end, when he has his heart attack, but it gets like somebody like a death spasm or something, and it just randomly kills him, causing his wife to like freak out. And she shoots that gun, then she breaks her hip. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so funny. And then an excellent scene where Mia Goth just runs her head over with a car.
Yeah.
Those are always classic. Cool. So that's it. That's our review of Ty West's X, a fantastic horror film. If you didn't get a chance to see it in the theater, please, by all means, rent it, download it on Amazon, whatever you got to do. Don't steal it, because don't be an asshole stealing
Right.
movies. But legitimately get it, because Ty West, he put out a good movie. Make sure you support the guy. With that, be sure to email us, outpostunknown@gmail.com. Do you agree with our review of X? Do you disagree? Do you hate it? Leave a comment down below. I'm Matt. He's Josh. We'll be back some other time with some other review.